Hi everyone, my name is Dina. This is my first Flosstube video. I'm going to be known as the Nightly Stitcher. I do stitch almost every night. Sometimes I stitch every day and every night. I'm retired, so I kind of do what I want, which is really nice. I have been stitching for over 40 years. I have lots and lots of patterns, lots of old patterns that are out of print now, and I keep buying more. I did work in a needlework, cross-stitch shop years ago. I worked there for 24 years, starting back in the 80s. And then after 24 years, I took a job as an admin assistant in a die casting plant that's here in our town. I live in mid-Missouri, about halfway between St. Louis and Kansas City. But then a year and a half or so ago, I decided I wanted to retire with the pandemic like it was. I didn't feel comfortable having 300 or 400 people walking past my desk all the time and all. So I just went ahead and decided to retire, and I don't regret it at all. So if you're thinking about it, do it. You'll love it. I like to stay busy, so I do a lot of stitching. I could probably be doing more as far as things around the house, and I do get them done, but I do love my stitching. And first of all, I don't know if I said anything about it yet or not, because then there's a motorcycle going by. I'm sorry about that. So this is my second take, so I'm not sure if I mentioned it or not, but I don't edit. I don't know how to edit. I don't really want to learn how to edit. So either I'm going to record these, or I will put them on the way they are with all the mix-ups and mistakes. My son-in-law has a YouTube channel where he does woodworking, and they're primarily tutorials showing how he's done his woodworking and how you can do it. You know, he films hours and hours and hours of video to get through that process, and then he can spend 2, 3, 4 hours just editing. And I know it wouldn't be that much for me as far as short videos, but I just don't want to take time out to do the editing, to take away from my stitching. Because the whole time I'm doing that, I think I could be stitching. So it's just going to be what it is. So let's get started. I have a few pieces. I started 2022 with around 20-25 whips. I'm not going to show them all. I'll probably show them here and there throughout each video. They are on my WhipGo board. I have 2 WhipGo boards. WhipGo was started by Jessie Marie Does Stuff, and I have one WhipGo board with all of my whips on it, my current whips that I came into 2022 with. And then the other WhipGo board is all ornaments. So none of those are started. So what I'm doing when the numbers get called on those, I will start those and hopefully finish them during that month. And if not, they'll just move on to where I can get a little bit of time to finish them up. So one of the ones that was on my WhipGo board, I don't remember if it was January or February. I think this one was in January. This is the Big Red Ship of Life, and it's by Ink Circles. I love their patterns. They have a big red ship of life, a medium red ship of life, and a small red ship of life. But I just love all the little things on there. But I'm telling you, that top border is tough. There it is. That's what I have so far. I'm doing that in DMC 304. And I think it's going to take a lot of floss. So, and my needle magnet, my oldest daughter gave it to me for Christmas. It says, I like to party, and by party, I mean cross stitch. So I think there's a lot of us out there like that. That we'd rather be cross stitching than going anywhere and partying. Or at least take our stitching with us. Another one that was on my Whipco. This was on my Whipco for February. And it was out of a magazine. And I started these a couple of years ago. And it's Flowers of the Month. And this is January, February. It's out of just Cross Stitch Magazine. And each month of starting January of 2020, you got 2 designs. And so I have, let's see, these 2 are January and February. And they show them with the month at the bottom. And I did not want the name of the month at the bottom. So I just stopped my border a little high. And this is on a fabric that I dyed myself, so I'm no help with that. There's one I've done. This one. Those are the 2 I just finished. No, I finished that one. This purple one here, the purple one there, and then this pink one. And my goal for these for February's Whipco was to do 3 of these. And they're on my Whipco board again, I believe, to do 3 more at some point, whenever that number's called. Then another one I'm working on, and this was, I know, a January Whipco call. And it's called The Color of Winter. Let me, bag. So it's called The Color of Winter by the Blue Flower. And I haven't seen too many people working on this, but I just love it. And I love the saying on it. It says, the color of springtime is in the flowers. The color of winter is in the imagination. Because most of us live in cold climate, and it is just dark and dreary. We don't have much color in Missouri. So I don't want to take it off my rods. So this is what I have so far. I'm sorry, I've kind of got a pile up here. So I have the flowers down along the side. I have the saying. I finished the tree right. Well, this tree right here I did this pot and all along here on my Whipco challenge. And this needle magnet is a button that I cut the back off of and made it into a needle minder. And it's also, this is stitched on 18 count that I dyed myself. 18 count Ada that I dyed myself. And I think I failed to tell you that the big red ship of life is also stitched on 18 count that I dyed myself. So I can unroll a little bit of it and show you. Oh. So this, no, still won't unroll. Okay, so we're not going to unroll that, but you can get an idea of what it looks like. I do a lot of dyeing on my own fabric just because I have fun doing it. I love playing with the dyes and seeing what I come out with. Over there. This one is Cardinal Point. I know a lot of people have stitched on it because I've seen it. And I love this one too. So Cardinal Point is the gentle art, kind of thread embroidery, and then Long Dog samplers. So I'm taking it that Long Dog samplers charted it, and then they're using all gentle art threads. And this is so pretty. It says the gentle art of a needlewoman lies embroidered in her work. And then you can add your name, your town, and when you did it at the bottom. And this one is mine. And it is stitched on white 18 count Aida. I'm not a big fan of just plain white, but I felt like with these colors I needed to keep it at that. So these colors really popped out. I did change, the only thing I've changed is the wing on this cardinal. And the wing that they showed was going to be, the color that I have was an orange. Bright, bright orange. And I didn't like it. So I looked at some photographs online and looked up some cardinals and just kind of picked a color that I thought looked good there. So again, that's Cardinal Point. And this, well, this was the colors for the color of winter. And I hate these. I've tried to like them. Everybody shows these pretty little thread drops. And I absolutely hate these stringy threads. When I first started stitching, like I said, over 40 years ago, I used Flosstube bags. And they were okay. I didn't mind them at all. But then when the bobbins came out and I went with those, I really liked the bobbins. So for all these years, I've only used bobbins. They're compact. They don't take up much room. This, I throw it in the bag. It's a mess when I pull it out. It stays a mess. I'm picking dog hair off of it. I pick fuzz off of it. I just don't like it. So if you have a good idea, a good way to store this stuff, let me know. I've been thinking about putting them back in Flosstube bags and putting them in the photo boxes, which is what these are up here. These are photo boxes, but they have quilt scraps in them. So I've been thinking about doing that and doing a box, doing a box that is for, say, gentle art, and a box that's for weeks and whatever. But if you have any idea that makes it better than those long stringy threads, let me know, because I just don't like those at all. Let's see. This was my Flowers of the Month came out of it. This is a project bag that I made. I make project bags and sell them. This is with using the Pioneer Woman's fabric. I have a bunch more that's on order yet that's coming in. So this one, I always do clear vinyl fronts because I want to see what my work is that I have inside. I put a little bit of a reinforcement down here at the bottom. It varies. Here's another one. This one's a little wider at the bottom, I think, between the two of them. But I like being able to see what's inside my bags. I also put these plastic card holders on them. And then I put the name of my project and the date I started. This is just handwritten because I have some nice printed ones and I don't use them for myself. I use those for putting in the bags that I'm selling. So if you're interested, just let me know. This one was one that I used the same fabric for the inside and the out. I love this piece of fabric. This is Pioneer Woman again. And I just love this piece. So this is one that I am working on. This is starting on my March Whip Go, and it's called Sampler Girls, and it's by M Designs. It's a little hard to see because it's so small, and then I've got a reflection. Yeah, it doesn't want to focus in very good. But Sampler Girls by M Designs. This is my progress. This is also a piece of fabric I dyed myself. And it's, I believe it's a 28 count linen. I never was good about keeping track of what fabrics I use because I just go pick something and dye it. Oh, what a mess. So I'm going to have to be better about it if I use a fabric that I buy instead of dyeing. So this project, these are some things that I'm going to be doing. And one is, let me get it, called The Village Sampler from Prairie Schooler. This is on my March Whip Go to start. And I'm going to be putting it in this box. I have an oak box with the lid that opens. And it's, I don't know, about a 12 by 14, something like that. Well, the story is, I've had this box. Well, let me back it up. I bought this pattern years and years and years ago. And it was Jeanette Douglas's My Stitching Treasures. Yes, My Stitching Treasures. And there is the burl wood and the pattern. So I bought this and I loved it so much. I bought the silk floss for it. I bought the charm pack for it. And there's tons of charms in there. And I never started it because, like I said, probably 20 years ago, I couldn't afford the box. I just couldn't spend that kind of money. So I ended up not working on it. And then I found a guy that did woodworking, not my son-in-law, but someone else. And he made me this box. It wasn't real cheap either, but it was a lot cheaper than the burl one. So it's set here because I didn't like, after I got it, I was committed to it. I did not like how fancy that was in this plain oak box. So I just didn't know what to do. So it sat here and sat here and sat here. And finally, we were on vacation last year, and I found this Village Sampler pattern at a thrift store. And when I got home, I got to look, and I kept thinking I need to do something in this box. This pattern done on the right count, and I'm not sure, I'll have to look back which count I need to use, fits perfect in this wooden box. So I don't have to adjust anything. I don't have to adjust the border or nothing. It fits perfect with the right amount of edge around it. So that's going to be a March start for me. This one I still want to do. And so on vacation last year, we were down in Little Rock, Arkansas at the Shepherd's Needle. And we go to Gulf Shores a couple of times every year. And I always like to stop in there and Usually spend more than I should, but that's okay. My husband doesn't care. So we were down there in September, and they had this box stitched up, had everything stitched up on it, and it was on display, and it's just beautiful. So I told my husband about it. I said, this is the box. It goes with that pattern and the charms and the silk. And I said, I just don't have the box. And he said, well, buy the box. And I said, but this is how much it is. And he said, just buy the box. And I said, okay, well, you can give it to me for Christmas. So they didn't have it in stock, so they had to order it. So he paid for it, and they ordered it, and it came in right before Christmas. So this is my working copy. So this, let me scoot this one out of the way. This is the box. It's just beautiful. So that's something I'm going to be starting. But when I looked through all my fabric, and I have tons of fabric, I couldn't find anything I liked. So I'm going to look when we go. We leave for Gulf Shores in April, the end of April. And we'll be going through Little Rock, so I'm going to get the fabric they used. Hopefully get the fabric they used, or else get something that's close so I can get that started. Because I really, really want to get it going. And then I also have this one, which is My Stitching Treasures Accessories. And that is the inside of the box. So you can make all the little pin keeps and pinwheel. And so I really want to do those too, to go on the inside. So those are a couple of projects I have. Now, we are down, excuse me just a second. We are down to the big mess. I have these two patterns that I started. They're by the Primitive Needle, which is no longer available unless you can find them on the secondary market, because I bought these when I was still working in the needlework shop, and this designer passed away several years ago in a flood. Her car was washed off the road, and so she passed away, and she has some of the coolest designs, but you're going to usually pay good to get them, but if you even find them. I haven't found these on secondary market at all. But this is called Cape Cod Boys. And it says, Cape Cod boys, they have no sleds. They slide downhill on codfish heads. And there it is. This little boat with a crab and a fish and a starfish. And this one is Cape Cod Girls. And Cape Cod Girls, they have no combs. They comb their hair with codfish bones. So there is the girl, little mermaid. Now, everything was all fine. I dyed 2 pieces of fabric, and I was going to do it on 22 count Hardanger fabric. And I don't know why, after as many years as I stitch, I thought I was going to use two strands of floss on this. But I started it. And I did, well, it's actually, I can see it. I stitched across the top, all the way down to here, all the way down to here, and you can't see it. Across the top, all the way down to here, all the way down to here, and then I put it away so I could start the Cape Cod Boys. This is the Cape Cod Boys. Now, I had this stitched all the way down here, all the way across, and now decided I hate it. I don't hate the pattern. I love the pattern. I'm going to restitch them both, but I hate 2 threads on 22 count hard hanger, which I should have thought that would be the same as 44 threads. So I don't know where I was thinking. So now the stitches look horrible. So I think I'm going to take it all out, or I know I'm going to take it all out. I've been working on it. I'm going to rip it all out and start again on the same pieces of fabric. I thought I could just throw this one away, you know, rip this one out, throw this one away. But I dyed these, and I'll never get them to match again if I try to dye a second one. So it's setting and ripping this out from time to time, and this is not easy to rip out. I might as well be ripping out one over one because it's about as hard to see. The fabric on the sides, if I have small pieces and I'm going to stitch in my Q-snap, I stitch scrap fabric along the sides, and then that way I can cut my fabric a little closer. I don't finish leaving a lot of fabric because I don't like that look. So I just sew a little bit of scrap fabric on it and save some of my cross-stitch fabric. This is another bag that I had made. This was the second bag that I made, and as you can see, I didn't put the reinforcing strip at the bottom. And after I did that, I decided I didn't like these corners unprotected. So now I always sew that, reinforce that fabric that goes on the inside of the vinyl and the outside of the vinyl to help protect it. That way, you know, I don't put my scissors in there without some sort of protection on them, but just in case you put your scissors in there, you do have fabric that will kind of help protect your vinyl. I believe that's everything I am stitching on or starting. I do have a few finishes that I was going to show you just because they were handy here. I have Pandemic, which everybody knows about Pandemic. I was able to download this chart when it was free through Long Dog. And I finished this on New Year's Day. I was so excited to finish it in 2021, but I just couldn't do it. I was up way past midnight and still could see I had several hours ahead of me. So I didn't get it done until New Year's Day. And this one is done in DMC, all DMC 3847, except you can see the two Plague Doctors I did in black. And this is on an 18 count that I dyed myself. And I have a really pretty gold frame that we picked up at a flea market that my husband just needs to cut it down. We bought a new blade for his saw, and we just need to get it cut down and get it framed. And the way I frame, I pin everything. I don't lace. I've never tried it. I framed for 24 years professionally, and we did pins, and I've just always stayed with the pins. So this is one that I finished and had out this fall. These are just up in my sewing room. Hattie Jane Cahill. And I think this is actually called Fall Gifts from Carriage House Samplings. I did it on a 28 count black even weave. And the reason why it's up here, I have several up here that I decided I didn't like packing my seasonal pieces away, that just putting them in a box or something unprotected. So I bought a whole bolt of pre-quilted fabric, just some cheap stuff. I didn't care what it looked like. It ends up, it's more of a muslin that's pre-quilted, but I just wanted it cheap. And I make these bags for these to slip down in. So I just cut them out a little bit bigger than this, enough that I can have a little flap to fold over and I use a corsage pin and pin it. And then I take muslin, and I'm not sure what you call it, but it's the kind of sticky that you can iron it on fabric, and then you peel the paper off, and then you can also iron that little piece of fabric onto something else. Well, I just do that. I cut a little square out. I use a Sharpie marker, and like I will put Hattie Jane Cahill sampler on here, and then I'll iron it onto the front of the bag before I put it away. So these are waiting for their bags. Then I have October 31st. And this is by Roveris. Put it in here. This one came in one of those plastic bags that has that sticky across the top that I always think is going to stick to my pattern. So I took it out and I put it in a page protector. So it has a stitch spider hanging off of the October. Let me stand up. Let's see. I gotta go figure out the right way to go here. So it has the spider that hangs off October. And I didn't want to stitch it. I had this cute little spider button. So I put him on there. And this one is done on 18 count Aida. That is coffee dyed. And when I dyed this with the coffee, while it was still wet, I took it to my ironing board and I used a super hot iron and kind of scorched the fabric. So it kind of grunged it up a little bit more. So that one is waiting for a bag. And this is another just thrift store frame that we cut down. So you can find some nice frames in thrift stores. And if you have someone that has a compound saw, you can just cut them and put them together yourself. This one is Blessings Be Thine. This is a blackbird from years and years ago. And you're getting the window. I don't know if I'm going to get this to where you can see it without the glare. Not very good. So as you can see, I stitched this in 2005. So 16 years ago. So I'm a big blackbird fan, as everybody else is. I love that one. And I think, yes, that's everything I have for today. So I hope you enjoyed this, being my first video. I know I've been pretty nervous, but it seems to have gotten easier as I talked more. It's just kind of weird talking to yourself. This, you might have seen me, I'm on Instagram. I just changed my Instagram to the Nightly Stitcher. And so I can pan over. My work table is a disaster. But this, I have a video and a still picture. This is the Prairie Schooler alphabet. And I have finally finished them all up, and they are up on my sewing room wall. I guess I could get my thumb out of the way. I'm not very good at this. But I love them. I think they're pretty. So, if you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate it if you'd give me a thumbs up. If you didn't, I'm sorry. I guess you just have to move on to someone else that you like. I appreciate you stopping by and listening. And if you would like to know when my next video comes out, you can subscribe